The diner at sunrise. The fluorescent lights of Ray's all-night diner hummed a steady, lonely tune. Outside, the last stubborn stars were fading over the asphalt river of Interstate 80. Inside, there were only two people. Ray, the owner, a man whose weary face and apron had seen more sunrises than most city dwellers saw in a decade, and Sarah, a trucker on a long haul from Nevada to Ohio. She was nursing her third cup of black coffee, the kind that tasted like ambition and regret in equal measure. Sarah had pulled in around 3 a.m. The air brakes of her 18-wheeler had sighed like a tired beast as she shut off the engine. She hadn't slept well in a week. The deadlines were tight, and the silence of the long, flat plains played tricks on her mind, turning the wind into whispers and the shadow of a coyote into something far worse. "Another coffee, darlin'?" asked Ray, his voice a low gravel, not bothering to look up from wiping down the already clean counter. "Please, Ray, and maybe a side of philosophy." Ray chuckled, a dry sound like crumbling toast. He filled her mug, the stream of dark liquid a stark contrast to the white ceramic. "Philosophy? You get one of them big existential loads this week, Sarah?" "Nah, just 40,000 pounds of high-grade printer paper. The philosophy is my own, self-imposed. I was just thinking." She gestured vaguely toward the window, where the sky was turning a soft, bruised purple. "This life. We spend all our time chasing the next stop, the next delivery. You're waiting for the sun to rise so you can go home. I'm waiting for the sun to rise so I can get back on the road. We're both running to something, but it feels a whole lot like running from something." Ray stopped wiping and leaned on the counter, his reflection shimmering in the steel. He was a man made of small, precise movements and years of routine. "That's the American way, I reckon," Ray said slowly. "Always moving. My grandpa used to say, 'Son, in this country, if you ain't moving, you're stuck.' He meant it as good advice. But he was a young man then, chasing gold and opportunity. Now, it just feels like keeping the engine from stalling out." A moment of silence passed between them, thick with the smell of stale fryer oil and fresh brewing coffee. It was a silence that knew the weight of a mortgage, the strain of a marriage lived across time zones, and the sheer emptiness of a highway at night. Sarah took a slow sip of her coffee. It was too hot, but she welcomed the burn. "What's the best thing you ever saw from this window, Ray?" He didn't hesitate. "The very first time I saw my wife drive away in a little red Ford. Headed to college, I knew she wasn't coming back to this town or this diner. Broke my heart, but I was proud. It meant she wasn't stuck." He paused, looking out at the purple light. "Second best, the sight of a fresh snowfall making everything quiet and clean. Makes you think for a minute you got a clean slate." Sarah looked at the sky. The purple was yielding to a brilliant, uncompromising orange, the promise of a hard, hot day. She picked up her check. "Thanks, Ray, for the coffee and the clean slate thought." "Drive safe, Sarah," he said, already turning back to his counter. Sarah pushed the door open. The morning air was cool and crisp, a final breath of the night. She climbed the high steps into her truck's cabin. As the big diesel engine roared to life, shaking the silence of the dawn, Sarah looked at her hands on the wheel. They weren't just running from anything. They were the tools that kept the world moving, carrying printer paper and hope and all the heavy, necessary things from one side of the continent to the other. She put the truck in gear, gave 2 short, loud blasts of the horn, a signal of departure, not arrival, and merged onto the highway, chasing the orange line on the horizon. The diner was already a small, fading square of light in her rearview